we can finally play the...
You're in Braves Country.
Good morning, Braves Country. Armchair Quarterback Show is on the way. But the more we think we know, the less we know about these Atlanta Braves. So we had to get on here and figure out what the hell is going on with our Braves. Another trade has gone down. 2 trades have gone down since we've last talked. Several things have happened, and we just dropped a show yesterday late afternoon. Well, let's go ahead and get into it. And we're going to go ahead and react to the big one. Now, really quick, Nick Anderson was traded to the Kansas City Royals in a separate trade, mind you, for cash considerations. That was a totally separate trade from the trade that kind of rocked the Braves world yesterday. We've already had the original trade with the White Sox. This one was with the Royals yesterday. They released this, I don't know, around, we'll say 9 o'clock last night, somewhere in that neighborhood. And in case you missed it, so just to catch you up to speed, Michael Soroka was traded to the White Sox. He gone. Nick Anderson is gone. Nick Anderson is heading to the Kansas City Royals, and that was for cash considerations. What that really came down to is they didn't want to tender him. There was a deadline tender yesterday. More on that in a second. We're going to get into college football talk here in the top of the hour, but I did want to jump on before the guys jumped on because things are coming hot and furious here in Braves country. So the Atlanta Braves last night acquired Jackson Kowar, right-handed reliever from the Kansas City Royals. And they send Kyle Wright in the package. Kyle Wright. Now remember, Kyle Wright, before everyone freaks out, what are we going to do next year? Kyle Wright was going to pitch next year. Kyle Wright, shoulder surgery. They hope he's back in 2025. But I think the Braves just didn't want to go through another situation that they've already had. They already go through with Soroka, and obviously they didn't get out of what they wanted from him. So they're just going ahead and skipping all that process. By the time that Kyle Wright were to come back and be a formidable pitcher, you would then have to start paying the freight for him. And I think they're looking at big picture. Hey, this team hopes to have guys like Herschel Waldrop, the AJ Smith-Shawver. They expect all of them to be ready to roll. And being productive pitchers on the Braves pitching staff by 2025, what is the point of holding on to these guys? And I get that part of it. It sucks because we watch these guys pitch really well. We watch Kyle Wright and Nick Anderson both help us to a World Series championship. Now, to be fair, Kyle Wright pitched very minimally in that postseason. It was really the following season, 2022, when he led Major League Baseball with 21 wins. And that's what really stings because we think of what Kyle Wright could be when he comes back. Here's the reality of it, y'all. He may never get back to those numbers. Happens all the time in baseball. So we move on from him. We move on from Soroka. We move on from Nick Anderson. What do we get in Kowar? Now, Kowar's got a 6.43 ERA last year. He had a whip, I think, up and near around 2. But prior to last year, Kowar was a really good pitcher. Bummer was a really good pitcher. Now, here's the thing with Kowar. They've got 3 years of control with him. And do you remember Jackson Kowar was a part of trade talks last year at the deadline? He is a 6'5", 200-pounder right-hander that throws gas. Very much like Bummer, they're going to have control over them for the next few years. If they pan out, if they don't pan out, you're not obligated to keep any of them. But I think it was one of these things where the Braves really were in a tight spot, and they said, "Look, I don't think we're going to keep them. So why not try to get something out of it and see if we can get something out of Kowar?" Now, the thing about Kowar, originally when it was released, someone on Twitter had said that he didn't have any more options. That's not true. He's got one option left. So you do have some wiggle room there. You have some wiggle room. If he doesn't come out firing bullets this spring, you can send him down, try to develop him, and maybe you've got something towards the end of the season. Here's the other thing. Let me get the list before I talk about it. The Atlanta Braves also, because of the non-tender deadline, they released a bunch of players. And Colby Allard, Michael Tompkin, Yanni Chirius, Penn Murphy, Angel Perdomo, Chadwick Trump. That was the one that shocked me. Lucas Williams, all declined tender contracts. So they could bring some of them back, but as of right now, they're not. Now, I kind of get where they're going with Trump. They're set for catcher the next couple of years. I'm just a little surprised they didn't try to tender him. The kid's got a bat. He plays pretty decent behind home plate. Feels like nothing else, he could have been a trade chip. That's the one that shocked me. Chirinos, we knew what that was about. Colby Allard, come on. After the league saw him once, he was getting pounded. Penn Murphy, a little strange because we just picked him up. A little strange, but I guess no harm, no foul. Angel Perdomo, the Tonkin and the Trump one is the one that shocked me the most. I like Tonkin. I'm hoping that they can bring him back on some kind of a deal. I like Tonkin a lot to have in the front of your pen, eating innings when games get out of hand. You can go to a Michael Tonkin and get 2 2/3 in a game in the middle of the year when you're like, geez, Louise, our starting pitcher just didn't have it today. And he can go out there and keep you in games. We saw it time and time again. So he's the one. But the thing is, he had a pretty high price. With all these moves, here's the big thing before we have to jump off and start talking college football. With all these moves, the Braves now have 10 spots open. 10! On their 40-man roster. That's unheard of. So there's going to be some moving. There's going to be some shaking. Remember, the Japanese players get posted on Monday. Free agency setting. All that jazz. We'll continue to talk more. If you got questions, fire them into the chat. We're going to step away here for a minute, do the intro. Tones and Joey are on the way. The Armchair Quarterback Kickoff Show. We just wanted to do a little bit of college football talk before, Major League Baseball talk, because so much stuff is going on. We'll be back in just a moment.
It is the third Saturday in October, and the show is on one more time in Knoxville, Tennessee.
We are live in Tallahassee, the capital of the great state of Florida.
There's no law against scalping tickets in this part of the country, and premium prices have been paid.
That's Desmond Howard going in motion on 2nd down and 5 for Michigan, playing on real grass at Michigan Stadium. Throw it to the sideline. It is intercepted. Florida State was sitting and waiting for it, and Terrell Buckley has scored a touchdown. How do you do?
Pitch 56-yarder. It's got, no, does not have the leg. And Chris Davis takes it in the back of the end zone. He'll run it out to the 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 45. There goes Davis. Oh, my God. Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game. Auburn's going to win the football game.
Oh, the band is out on the field. He's going to go into the end zone. For the play, the most amazing, sensational, dramatic, heart-rending, exciting, thrilling finish in the history of college football. California.
The throw down, he's going to go deep. And I mean deep. And I mean touchdown, Florida. Tyree Cleveland in a miracle finish. A Hail Mary that's full of grace for the Gators.
Barkley trying to bounce it. And does escape. Saquon Barkley in the clear. Still going. Saquon Barkley all the way to the end zone. Electric. 79 yards.
It's a 31-30 game, and what does Nebraska do?
I have not seen the kicker come on the field, and I don't think he's coming on the field. Tom Osborne made this decision a long time ago. He's decided to go for two and take his shot at winning. I commend him for it.
This is for the national championship for Nebraska. Incomplete.
And if in 48 seconds they become the winner, they certainly deserve to be national champions.
Seminoles of Florida State, one of the great traditions in college football, and this becoming one of the nation's favorite rivalries. It's a battle for flagging rights and recruiting advantages in the state of Florida as the Gators come calling, and Chief Osceola ready to get it started. College football, a matchup from the state of Florida. The Gators against the Seminoles on an overcast day in Tallahassee.
Moody flushed, throws it down. Caught by Boston College. I don't believe it.
Today, we've got number 1 Seminoles against number 2 in the capital city of Tallahassee.
The armchair quarterback, he's kind of fun and he's kind of fat. The all-American man with a cool one in his head.
Hey, howdy, hi, and how the hell are you? What's going on, boys? Welcome back.
What's up, McGee? I'm panhandling for Penn State win today. I'm out on the corner begging, so we'll see what we can do out here and hopefully get into a New Year's bowl game at this point. That's about the best we could hope for.
How are you, Joey?
Oh, I'm doing good. Great to be back after last week being off, of course. And, today my focus is on Washington. I know my Notre Dame can't really make the playoff, but a huge game for Washington today on the road. I'm excited to see if they can make that step forward or step back because right now they see it on the cusp out, not in. Interested in today's college.
Go Beavers, baby. Go Beavers. Yeah. Get it. I'm ready for them to shock the world. Look, I feel like Washington's been playing on borrowed time for several weeks. And it's only a matter of time before Oregon knocks the snot out of them in the Pac-12 championship game. But here's a crazy scenario, and it's funny because I find it odd that there are ESPN talking heads that are supposedly in the know of college football. Evidently, they're not. But here's an odd question. Stanford Steve, I think, is the one that I saw bring this up last night on social media. He brought an option up where Alabama beats Georgia, right? We'll just say Ohio State beats Michigan, okay? Florida State wins out. Washington wins out. What was the other one? Anyways, he was insinuating that Florida State would be. I guess that was it, and he was saying that Texas wins out. That was the other one, and he was insinuating that it would be Texas, Alabama in. Georgia in and Ohio State in and Florida State would be left out undefeated. I don't see that.
No, I don't either. I mean, look at when you go undefeated, to me, I know you can take into maybe conferences or strength of schedule or do whatever you may have, but Florida State's in a good conference. They play their schedule. If you finish undefeated and win your conference championship on top of that, no offense, a one-loss Texas team, I don't care how good you did down the stretch, you have a loss on your schedule.
Honestly, I think the odd man out's probably going to end up being, hey, not people wanting to hear this, it could be Alabama. Because they lost to Texas.
Yeah, I mean, Alabama's another one where you look at them and they're playing great right now. But, Mac, we always talk about it. You can't just focus on these last few weeks, right? You got to take everything that happened since week one. So, to me, one-loss teams, I know sometimes they go in over, like a two-loss team will go in over a one. But to me, what Florida State here, yeah, I mean, okay, are there some games on their schedule down the stretch where it's like they should win them? For the most part, yes. But, hey, they did their job, went undefeated. I wouldn't put them out over some of these one-loss teams.
No, and I'll tell you something else that's maddening to me is that everyone tends to forget Florida State beat the hell out of LSU.
It was week one. That's why they forget.
Right. But they act like the game didn't exist. Like, well, they play in the ACC. They beat the hell out of LSU. They're going to be playing Florida next week. They beat Miami. They beat Clemson. It's not Florida State's job, by the way, to make sure that Florida has a good year, Miami has a good year, Clemson has a good, right? I mean, let's get that out of the way. And if things play out, if Louisville wins, and that's a big if because I don't know if they're going to get the win today, but if Louisville wins, they will have beaten another top 10 team in Louisville for the conference title. If not, they'll play it. Well, you know what? It gets too murky to even guess at that point because there's about 4 teams that could slide in there. They could still end up playing Louisville. Louisville would just be ranked a little further back. But they could play North Carolina, who's ranked, number 20 right now. They're at Clemson. I don't think they're going to beat Clemson, but we'll see what happens. Looking at the standings real quick in the ACC, what you get, Florida State punched their ticket. North Carolina, NC State, Virginia Tech all have 2 losses. That's the list, along with Louisville. Because Louisville's 6-1. Their last conference game is today. They play Kentucky next week, so that's got nothing to do with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you could end up in a tie. And I think from the bylaws the way it used to be, I haven't looked and see what it is this year, but the way it used to be is the highest ranked team gets it if there's a multiple team tie. Obviously, if it was head to head, 2 versus 3, that would get the tiebreaker. But Louisville and North Carolina didn't play this year. So anyways, I just thought it was odd that they're just assuming FSU's out. I do agree that if Florida State loses, they're done. There's not, I mean, they would have to have like a catastrophic collapse on all the other teams to even be mentioned with the 1 loss.
Mm-hmm. Hey, don't worry. The saddest thing I heard was somebody was trying in the Pac-12, some radio station I was listening to was trying to say if Oregon and Washington both end up with 1 loss, they should both make the playoff. I'm like, absolutely not. You can't put 2 Pac-12s in there. Come on now.
I mean, the only way that happens, Joey, right, and times for that matter, we would know today because Tennessee would have to upset Georgia.
Yeah.
And Auburn would, well, we don't know today, we know next week. Auburn would have to upset Alabama next week to make the SEC champion moot. I can tell you this. If Michigan loses, they're done because the committee's just looking for an excuse to kick them out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hate to tell you, Michigan fans, I know a lot of folks don't want to hear this. If you lose 1 game, you are absolutely gone. So the only way to stick it to everybody is to go out and win the whole damn thing. And the only way you're going to do that is if you go undefeated, meaning, not just next week against Ohio State, not just this week against Maryland, but you got to win the Big Ten title.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, only 1 Big Ten team is squeaking in this year for sure. I mean, I don't really see a way 2 Big Ten teams get in I mean, you got the SEC, Vulcan, you got the Pac with vying teams. And to me, FSU's in regardless unless they get a loss the remainder of the year. So, hey, I mean, it would be a nice thing if we had more playoff teams at this point. But I will say it does make for good conversation. It does make for good talk. It's a lot of debatable teams that are on the cusp of making the playoffs here. And I think this is exactly why we need at least a little bit of expansion. And it's coming soon. So the Calvary will be here soon for that.
Yeah, I think you're going to have for anything else to happen in this, you're going to have some kind of situation where well, you know what? There's no way to get 2 Big Ten teams in because they're just simply not going to put Michigan in if they get a loss.
Exactly.
You've been a bad boy. Go play in the Screws It Bowl. I don't even know what bowl they end up in because I don't even know if the Rose Bowl wants them, right?
Yeah, maybe, I heard someone funny on the radio the other day say maybe James Madison should call up Colorado for a Make It Up bowl game for Dion. And after last night, man, I can't even believe that's a topic of convo. Talk about falling off the face of the earth. Colorado, Dion really just is sad. He's going out sad this year. That's just it. Prime time is not prime, and he hasn't been prime for about 2 months now, so.
Well, I hit my teaser on that last night, so I wasn't too upset about that. I took State and the over, and when they jumped out to an early lead, I was like, I don't think I have to worry about State. The only thing I'm worried about is the over. I kept falling asleep and waking up looking at the score, and at some point, I realized it. So the over went down to about 50, 51, something like that, and then I woke up and the total was around 56. I was like, put that to bed. I can save that money and lose it on something today. By the way, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go ahead and give you my lock of the day. You ready for this? Give me Northwestern.
Let's do it.
Northwestern +3 is my lock of the day.
There we go. The fight in Northwesterns, they've had a heck of a year for the scandal they went through and all that backlash they got at the beginning of the year. I know they haven't been necessarily blazing trails out there, but they've had a nice little year for all that they've went through.
Yeah, they're I'm looking at a couple of things. Purdue doesn't have anything to play for. They're at home, and Northwestern just named their interim coach, their head coach going forward, and I think they're going to go out and play for him today. Mm-hmm. So that's my sound logic behind that lock, but that's the one I'm going with today.
I like that. I like Northwestern. They're fighting pretty good. So
yeah, I'll tell you what, he's done a hell of a job. He's got that team at 5-5 and 3-4 in the Big Ten. And considering the dumpster fire that was their the whole scandal that they had back in the spring, I thought this team would be winning like 2-3 games.
Mm-hmm. And, after Pat Fitzgerald made such a big legacy and impact there for over a decade, you really thought, something of that nature would really blow the whole organization out of whack for a couple of years. But as you said, interim head coach gets slotted in, ends up getting himself the head coaching job. He does such a good job. So kudos to Northwestern and fighting through the adversity and the bull crap from the offseason. Or the bull junkie, as Prime would say.
There's a lot of bull junkie in it.
I like how he keeps saying that there's no way that he would go to College Station to take over the Texas A&M job, right? I'm like, dude, you've got to jump on this while it's hot. Because everyone's going to find out in the very near future you're a terrible head football coach.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, week 1, Bobby was ready to burn down the entire University of Florida football staff to hire Dion, right? Dion has shown week after week after week he's not a great X and O's guys, which I don't know why that shocks anybody. But anyways, my point is this. If Dion needs to strike while the iron's hot, he keeps saying, well, my kids are here. But why would you do what you did last year and just take your kids with you? What are you talking about?
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah,
when it comes down to it, you got to make your buck, right? I mean, like you said, what if Colorado has, they lose the rest of their games this year, which are already on a schedule to have a poor record. And then next year he comes back and it's year 2 and they completely blow it up. His stock goes way down. To me, you got to keep jumping on these opportunities while he still has the chance, make a big buck and cash out before things get uglier for him.
Absolutely. I
think a lot of people in the beginning thought that, the entertainment wins games, right? Prime brought entertainment to the table. ESPN bit for it. They had College Game Day there a couple of times. A lot of people bought into the entertainment side of things. At the end of the day, you got to be a football coach, and he's not looking like a great one. So
I don't think Texas A&M wants to go that route, but if they do decide to go that route, you got to jump on that, man. You can get $76 million to not coach in the near future.
Yeah, I think UTSA's coach makes a pretty good case. I forget his name exactly, but I know he interviewed there. He should be jumping all over that too. You could go from a UTSA to a College Station. That's a big upgrade as well. A lot of these littler fish have to take advantage while they can. A lot of money.
Did y'all see by the way, it's essentially the 30-year anniversary for Game Day for their road show. Their very first road show was 30 years, almost 30 years ago. It was 30 years ago this week.
And they chose the great JMU.
Yeah, well, the first one was legit. The first one was Notre Dame, Florida State, the game of the century, as it was called. Yeah, it was the first time that they ever went. That was the one where Notre Dame won on a touchdown, last play, interception in the end zone, and then Notre Dame lost the next week, and Florida State went on with a national championship. I can't remember what year they started doing it every week, because it wasn't every week for the first few years they were doing that. They would just pick certain games. Most of them were in studio and then say, and then they realized more people wanted to watch them out in the middle of, even at JMU as opposed to a studio. So that's what that come down. I'm sure it came down to whenever the hell Home Depot came on and decided building their stages and giving them money to call it, built by Home Depot.
And I will say quick, while we're on the subject and while we're talking about James Madison, I don't see them being relevant here for too long in our conversation. But
We're still built by Legos, by the way. But anyways, go ahead.
I will say this. James Madison deserves bowl eligibility, and I think college football should really consider changing that entire rule they have right now. Just because you're a newer team and bowl eligible conferences doesn't mean it should be held against you, in my opinion. So, you got an undefeated James Madison team probably going to miss a bowl game, and even throw Jacksonville State in, coached by Rich Rodriguez for that matter. They only have 1 or 2 losses right now. So you're going to hold them out of bowl games for promoting their programs up to the big boy level of football, what college football wants you to do. And you're going to put in some crappy 5 or 6 win team that doesn't really deserve a bowl game. Come on. I think NCAA needs to fix that rule. I think James Madison's more than deserving of getting bowl eligibility. I think it's a little bit ridiculous.
So I was on that same wavelength until I saw a video that was explaining why they do it. And now it makes a lot of sense. And though I get what you're saying, from the football's fan standpoint, you're like, what the hell, man? Why not let an undefeated team in? And that's the part that we have a hard time getting past it. But the reason why they don't do it, the reason why they're doing the 2-year probation, is because they want to see, can you sustain financially for about 3 years without that bowl money coming in? And that's the main reason for it. So that a team that may go up, that may not even be bowl eligible for the first 5 or 6 years, will they all of a sudden have to crap out and crash down? So I get that part of it. But from the fan standpoint, I'm with you. It's like, dude, I'd like to see what an undefeated James Madison team could do in a bowl game against you name the team. They would probably play whoever it is pretty well, because whoever they're playing is probably going to have 25 guys declare for the draft and decide not to. But that's why they do it. I get the idea behind it, but it's hard for it. We wouldn't be talking about this if James Madison was like 7-3, right? You'd be like, well, you got to wait your turn, but because they're undefeated and it's just a rare occurrence. That's where it comes from. So I agree that I would like to see it, but I also understand why they do it.
Yeah, I agree. And now that you say that, I think it was 5-6 years back, Idaho actually got called up to bowl eligibility, and they just could not sustain financially. And after 2 or 3 years, Idaho actually had to be demoted again to non-bowl eligibility. So I see your point and logic, but for sure,
I'll be honest with you. When I first started to watch the video that talked me into it, or what I just laid out to you, he said, let me explain to you why it's done. And my first thought process, Tones, before I ever heard anything, he says, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're a damn idiot. There's no way in hell. And by the end of the video, I go, huh. All right, then.
Yeah, it does make sense, especially, I don't know why, me and my bad college football off the top of my head, Idaho stands out, but we've seen it happen before, so it does make a lot of sense.
Probably because you took Idaho money line late one Friday night.
I think it was a Saturday, and I was at a bar called the Penalty Box, and I think they got 40 pieces. So
that's the dangers of having access to the app on your phone when you're sitting after a few cervezas.
You start chasing money. Oh, this team's going to cover this. Next thing you know, 47.
Or you start trying to bankroll what you already won. Oh, let's let it ride. Then you wake up the next morning with a skull ripper and an empty pocket. Go, dude, it got me.
Hey, I woke up with all. I wake up with a lot worse.
What you almost need to do is, you're going to go onto a bender out to the bar. You need to go ahead, just write down all the picks you've already made, right, and then just delete the damn app off your phone and leave the password at the house. So you can have no way of going, I can get back in this. I was stupid me at noon, smart me at 9:30, and groggy as hell with 17 beers into the night.
Yeah, I turned my phone off for other reasons, but that helps me save that.
Oh!
Hey, I do want to give a quick birthday shout out to Tony Aguilini. Happy birthday, sir.
Hey.
Yeah, happy birthday, and there will be no speaking of what happened in college basketball last night. All right, let's go ahead and get into the college football slate. So got a couple of things I want to hit today. Upset meter, right? Upset alert. I'm putting the Michigan-Maryland game on about a 5 because I think there is a possibility that they're coming off the high of beating Penn State. They're looking ahead to Ohio State. It's a noon kickoff. It's on the road. These two teams meet randomly any other time of the year. I wouldn't give Maryland a shot in hell winning this game, but they can put up points. Crazier things have happened. What are y'all's thoughts on Michigan-Maryland?
I was actually looking at that one, and I know we're talking about straight upsets, but Maryland spread's really intriguing. To me, that's a lot of points there at home against Michigan. Anytime you got a Tunga Viola brother at quarterback, you have the chance to stay in the game. They're winners. I agree with you. I put that one right around the 5 spectrum, maybe bump it a little bit. I will say Maryland seems to start these games strong often, right? It's always halftime, and whether it's Ohio State, Penn State, or Michigan, Maryland's hanging with them around the half. And then as the game progresses, the bigger cat usually gets the fish out of the water. So I do agree it's right around the halfway point. I don't count Maryland out of this one by any means. I expect them to hang in it until at least halftime, and then we'll see what happens from there.
Yeah, and on that same meter, Mac, you said about a 5. I think about the same because, as Tones alluded to at Maryland, they played Ohio State earlier in the year, hung around for a bit. The overlook is huge here. I have a couple buddies who are Michigan fans, and they say, look, you got Ohio State. We all know what's coming next weekend. You can't just not think about that for a little bit of time. And anytime you go on the road in the Big Ten, Maryland's not the toughest place to play. I realize that. It's supposed to be about 60 to 65 degrees, but you don't know where their mind's at mentally. I think they could sometimes be overcharged up thinking about all the stuff off the field that this game might tickle around a little bit. I don't think they're going to by any means win this game, but I'd put it at about a 5 as well, because they'll hang around at least till halftime, and then it depends where the talent lies with Tagovailoa. If he can make plays in the second half, this will be closer than the experts think.
The next one. This one, I've got an upset alert of about a 9. Louisville going into Miami. Miami is actually a favorite, so I don't know if you can call it an upset per se. It's gone back and forth, about 1 point both sides all week long. But Louisville, to me, is the perceived underdog going on the road to play the Hurricanes. I got it at a 9. Give me a score, Tones.
I put this one. I think Louisville handles them today. I'm going to say Louisville wins this one by a touchdown. They're always going to be up around it. I think it stays competitive, but I think Louisville handles him by around 7-10 all game. I'm going 27-20 Louisville. I think they could smell that they're on the verge of a New Year's bowl game, which would be very exciting for that program. I don't know what Joey was doing in the off season, but he must have had a couple Louisville books on his desk or something to predict.
Power 4, baby.
Yeah. But anyway, I will say they've had a heck of a season, and I think they continue that heck of a year today. I think Miami's a bunch of choke artists, and even when Miami has a very winnable game in front of them, they find a way to lose it. So give me Louisville today. I think they win 27-20.
Joey, what say you on this game?
Yeah, it's just a disgrace, boys, that a Power 4 team can be underdogs at 9-1. I mean, what are we doing here, NCAA? Get this team on the map and get some points in the other direction. But in all honesty, I'm going Louisville 24, Miami 21. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch in that early slate, of course, but Louisville ekes it out, and it's going to be interesting to see where the committee starts to put Louisville as we get down the stretch.
I mean, honestly, Miami's got the better roster is what it all comes down to, and Miami is the home team.
Yes.
But Louisville has played the much easier schedule. So Louisville, though they've had a couple of signature wins, I get that, but it's a lot easier to get up for one game in college football as opposed to week after week. And so that's got a lot to do with it. It's one of the reasons why Louisville, remember the beginning of the year, I said that they were my dark horse to make the ACC championship game. And this is why, because yes, they were playing Miami, but they weren't playing Clemson. They weren't playing Florida State. They were avoiding a lot of the big boys in the ACC. So I hope Louisville has a good showing. It's going to make the ACC championship game much more fun. But I do believe that the Hurricanes have the better team. I guess my biggest question from it is, what kind of quarterback player are they going to get today?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Rutgers, Penn State, any worry there, Tons? I'm going to put that at a upset meter of about a 3 or a 4.
Yeah, I'd put it around a 3 or 4 as well. You can never quite count out the fight in Shiano's. They're kind of like a Maryland in terms of how they fight in the Big Ten with the big boys. And when I say big boys, I mean Ohio State, Michigan, followed by Penn State. Rutgers are one of those teams that gives them a little bit of a whirlwind of a game. We've seen that out of Ohio State Rutgers a couple weeks back. But at day's end, I think Penn State rebounds after a tough loss last week. They've really looked great against everyone not named Ohio State and Michigan this season. So I expect that to continue today. I think the spread's a little rich for my blood, sitting around 20.5. That's a little high, but I do think Penn State wins this one pretty handedly. I think they'll always be up a couple of touchdowns, and I think Drew Aller continues to kind of play well in these under the radar type games, opposed to when the big spotlight's on him. And let's not forget either, Penn State did fire their offensive coordinator a couple weeks back. That was a much needed maneuver on their behalf. I think their new OC is going to continue to try and put the blueprint in place today and really put his resume together to remain there next year. So I think Penn State comes out firing on all cylinders. I think they win this one by about 14-20. With that being said, that 20.5, that half point, a little rich for my blood in terms of the spread.
What say you, Joey?
I'll put the upset at about a 1, because this is what Penn State does, right? You can guarantee two things. They'll never beat Michigan and Ohio State, but they beat everybody else on their schedule. To me, they come out strong and win this game handily. 1, I'm not afraid of it.
All right. One of the big ones today, if you believe they can hang, Georgia travels to Knoxville to take on the Tennessee Volunteers. I'm putting this about a 6 just because I'm going off of what we saw last year with Georgia and Tennessee, where they won by 2 touchdowns, but it was never that close. I'm also going off the fact that Georgia is really starting to heat up. Man, if Florida State does make the playoffs, I hope they end up in that 2-3 slot and avoid that 4 slot. I want nothing to do with the Bulldogs. Right? If we have to play the Bulldogs, can we play them in the national title game? Because it gives you a chance, and maybe there's an upset or something. It's a 10-point spread this morning.
Yeah.
What say y'all on the? You know what? Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about Georgia, Tennessee. I'm getting the notification that we overran. We got to take a quick break. We come back. Georgia, Tennessee, the big game in the Southeastern Conference. Will be back in a flash.
Well, don't mind me. I'm just here to install this smoke detector.
A smoke detector? Does that detect any kind of smoke?
Long live the king.
Hey, sports fans, it's Rod Peterson here, host of The Rod Peterson Show, inviting you to join us daily for 2 hours of Atlanta's funnest sports talk right here on WQEE. I say fun because it is. You've never heard a show like it because we make the listeners a part of the show every day between noon and 2 p.m. Eastern. You'll hear plenty of the best sports talk, including the latest on the Falcons, the Braves, and more. And who knows, you might even hear you. That's the Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon, right here on WQEE 99.1 FM.
ACC football covered like no other here on the Armchair Quarterback.
Against the blitz. Touchdown, Florida State! Preston scores the touchdown. And now it's Bowden's decision. And he sends Mowry onto the field right away. Danny Cannell is the holder. Mowry turns it. This game is over. A 31-31 tie. A 31-31 tie.
A deep throw by Lawrence. A lot of contact. Justin Ross broke free from it. He's down in the end zone. Touchdown, Clemson. Justin Ross, a freshman wide receiver, big, rangy, and Trevor Lawrence knows, throw it up against that single coverage, give him a chance to make a play on a 50-50 ball.
If you're a fan of the ACC, pull up an armchair. You're home.
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neal, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Fridays, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
The NFL's number 1 pick in 1970, Terry Bradshaw, experienced an erratic rookie season. But Noel never gave up on the talented youngster. This was paramount, for Pittsburgh had a history of impatience with young players. The most glaring example came in 1956, when a free agent named John Unitas was given a quick look and found wanted. Earl Morrall, who was traded by Pittsburgh in 1958, went on to lead Miami to the Super Bowl. Len Dawson, the Steelers' top draft pick in 57, was gone by 59. And Jack Kemp, who won championships for Buffalo, was cut in the mid-50s. But Bradshaw was allowed to mature, and he gave Pittsburgh stability at quarterback for the first time. He also had one of the most powerful throwing arms ever seen, and the Bradshaw bullet became legend in Pittsburgh.
Armchair.
They're always getting in our face, yeah.
Welcome back. Georgia, Tennessee. Tennessee. Now, the one thing I'll say about this game, although I still have the upset meter around a 4, 3 or 4, somewhere in that area, maybe a 5. You can talk me into 6, but honestly, if I'm being honest about it, I'm gonna temper it around a 4. Because if Tennessee were to win this game, it would make their entire season. And you would see them tearing down the goalposts, et cetera, et cetera. Here comes Bobby onto the playing field. Sorry, Bobby. I thought I had added you in. Let me change.
Added on to your point, though, with Tennessee, my thing was going to be, Mac, that this is like their Super Bowl today, right? They're 7-3. It's a big home game against Georgia. To me, that's why I put this at a 5 or a 6. On the road, Tennessee's going to treat this like a conference championship or a Super Bowl type game for themselves. It's going to be rowdy in Knoxville. I'm not saying they get it done, but it's going to be a great atmosphere, and I hope to see a good game.
Bobby, what say you? What are the chances Tennessee pulls this off?
I assume we're doing what's
Georgia,
the
Tennessee. Sorry,
I'm going to give it maybe 20% chance tops. I don't give them much of a chance at beating Georgia. I just look at how they played against Florida, how they played against Missouri. And I know those are two different situations because they're playing on the road. But you compare those games to how Georgia played against those teams, and it's night and day. And like you said earlier in the show, Georgia, they've been picking it up lately. They've been stomping teams. It's not the Georgia we saw earlier in the season. They've had no problems handling the teams they played recently. I think they'll do the same to Tennessee.
Give me a score.
I'm going to say 35-20, Georgia.
35-20?
Yeah.
Tones, what's your score?
Yeah, I think Georgia absolutely gets the best of him here. Right when Tennessee kind of buys me in a little bit this year, they do something where they get absolutely, taking a step back or two, to put it lightly. And I think last week was one of those occurrences for Tennessee. Listen, I don't think anything screws Georgia up much at this point. I think they really take care of business today. I don't see Tennessee playing upset alert football at all in this one. I think Georgia gets all over them. I think Georgia ends up winning this one 33-17.
All right, Joey, what you got?
Why not? I'll be the lone man wolf, and I won't say they win outright by any means here. I'm crazy and a little on the, not smartest side sometimes, but I won't do that. I'm going to go with Tennessee to cover. Like I said, this is their biggest game of the year. This is what's left. It's their home game. They looked miserable. I mean, and look at the Missouri game. Go back. Bobby mentioned a couple on the road as well that were just god awful. Put all that aside, 9.5 points. I think it's going to be about a 35-27 game. They hang around in Georgia. Maybe it's a backdoor cover. I don't have to predict that, though. 35-27, Georgia takes it, but does not cover.
Yeah, I got Georgia covering. I don't think I honestly don't know how competitive this game is going to be. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we get a really fun game. This is kind of a light slate on a college football Saturday.
Yeah.
I hope we get something entertaining. But, man, this thing smells. I know how hard it took them to get 13 points last year. And Tennessee had a pretty good offense last year.
Yeah, better offense this year than this year.
Give me the Bulldogs to win this thing like 34-10.
I think that 20 that Tennessee gets, I think it comes late in the game when it's well out of reach. I don't think it's a true two-possession game.
Don't you have the feeling that if Georgia can find a way to score 14 points, this game may be over?
Yeah. I don't think Tennessee is going to have much luck moving the ball. I mean, Georgia's a dominant defense, and Joe Milton hasn't been good this year. Not at all.
No, he's been absolutely awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tennessee was kind of hoping to carry over the good vibes of last year. Obviously, they lose Hendon Hooker and things go a little south. I didn't think it'd be this bad for Joe Milton. I had some hopes in him. I kind of liked where he ended off last year, but nope. It just kind of completely crashed and burned for the Volunteers at some points this season.
Yeah.
Am I missing something, Tones? Have you seen anything? Why is the USC line gone down to 4.5 against UCLA?
Yeah, I think this is getting to be known as the Chip Kelly game. A lot of people think if UCLA loses this game, Chip Kelly might be out of a job come tomorrow. That's what I've been pretty much reading in some reports and all that stuff. So I think people are, growing intensely and thinking this is a must-win game for UCLA.
I think he's gone no matter what.
Yeah,
Even if he wins.
Yeah, I think he's probably looking at the door regardless. I agree with you. But, hey, if you are Chip Kelly, you make the case, hey, I beat USC with Caleb Williams. We get into a bowl game. I win that bowl game. We're moving to the Big Ten. I think you could have a bigger case if you're Chip Kelly there. Not saying they're going to keep him at that point, but I think, fans around the world are starting to realize, hey, this is kind of a must-win for Chip and co. Are we going to go all in on him, or are we going to watch him kind of flounder out like we have before in the NFL and whatnot? So I think that's a consensus, and that's where the money's going, and that's why you see the spread kind of inching its way towards the middle.
It's interesting because from my understanding, the biggest reason why Chip Kelly is getting ran out of there is not necessarily performance. They're saying he just doesn't jive with the UCLA alumni. He doesn't play basically the kiss ass game, for lack of a better term, right? Mm-hmm. And they want to go in a different direction as UCLA's heading towards the Big Ten next year.
Yeah, and that's going to be one of the biggest things is who do they feel like is the best coach to transition them appropriately into the Big Ten? Is it Chip Kelly? And, if he doesn't get along with their organization to begin with, because that's going to be a big curveball when you're going from Pac football to Big Ten football. You have to sell your fans. You have to sell the alumni. You got to click all the right buttons. Maybe they don't think Chip's the man to, be in charge of that plane for that transition. But I feel like if he ends the year strong, relationships aside, you at least have to give him a year going into the Big Ten, me personally. But I don't see UCLA doing much better at this point in times in terms of who they could bring in to coach, especially with College Station being an option. You're going to see a couple other big potential seats be opening as well. I'm not quite sure if UCLA would even crack the top 5 head coaching candidacy list at the end of the year.
Here's a teaser I'll lay on you that I just laid while we were talking. So I got a 10-point teaser with 3 teams. It's on a -150 line. I don't love those odds, but I really like the line that it was getting to. So I just need Georgia to win. They're now getting plus 0.5. I'm getting Maryland plus 28.5 and USC plus 5.5. Which one breaks me? Which one screws me, sticks the knife right in me, and knocks me out?
If I had to go with one, even though we talked about upset alert earlier, Michigan could be on this warpath where they're just saying it's them again. They try this victim card, right, which I'm not liking. But maybe since they are playing it that way, maybe they do win by 40 to 50.
Why in the world are they the victim?
Well, hey, they're playing it. Harbaugh's they're called America's team. Harbaugh. So it's just
so
all
lame.
a joke.
And you know what's crazy is a bunch of people in the media are talking about how bad they feel for the players. Why? I feel bad for the teams they screwed over by cheating. I can't believe they're getting a slap on the wrist like that.
There's no way
they get to play victim as well.
Either, right?
Right.
There's just no way.
This is exactly to me, and very, I know it's different sports, but like the Houston Astros. Does everybody maybe cheat a little bit to a certain extent to get advantages? Of course they do. But when you go to the measures of what Michigan went to, there's a reason Harbaugh sat on his hands and ended up taking this penalty and not going to court. They're a joke. It's a blasphemy that you guys, Howard on ESPN over here, the 4-letter network, trying to, cry for his team. I hope they lose. But Mac, back to your teaser point, they do think it's them against the world. Maybe they blow out Maryland by a big amount, but I like the teaser overall.
I do too. I think that's the only one that could not hit is because, like you said, Michigan. I mean, Joey said it best. They have that. They have that victim mentality. They have the underdog mentality, which is it's so lame that they do. But
crazy.
We have a common quick big Trev about fantasy football. Trade Amari Cooper, get Adam Thielen if you're still listening, buddy. That's all I got for you.
What was the question?
In a full point PPR, somebody offered him Adam Thielen for Amari Cooper. I think with the uncertainty of Brown's quarterback position,
they offered him Thielen.
It sounds like that. He says,
yeah, it does,
dude. I'd take that in a heartbeat.
That's what I'm saying. Especially, you have DTR or PJ Walker or Joe Flacco, right? I mean,
where's Phillip Rivers?
You better jump in there and accept that damn trade before that guy sobers up.
Yeah.
Because, well, here's the big unknown, and the problem is if you find out that Cooper was worth keeping, it'll be too late. But if you find out, oh my God, he's just going to be run blocking, you're not going to be able to move him come Monday morning, right?
Mm-hmm.
DTR, they're high on him, and one of the reasons why last time PJ Walker got the start over DTR, it was because they got the news on like a Friday, I think it was, that Watson wasn't playing. So in a short week like that, they said, you know what, we're going to go with the veteran. But now they have a full week and they're going forward. They're high on DTR. And I do remember him playing well in the preseason.
He did play well in the preseason. He did get one start, though, in the regular season, and it went disastrously.
Yeah.
So I would sell
which is fair, but at the same token, that was one start, and that was kind of last minute. Now they went into this knowing that this was their guy all week. The problem is he's playing the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. There's the wind supposed to be howling off the lake, and there's a good chance the over under that game's 32.
Oh my God, what is Iowa playing?
There's a good chance you're not going to be able to you'll be able to pick up Amari Cooper on the waiver wire come Wednesday because people are just going to panic.
Yeah, I think you got to do that trade. And I'll say this. I did watch DTR a lot last year in college football, and he's one of those quarterbacks who makes a lot of splash plays, makes a lot of electric plays, but he'll never fail to make a big-time turnover as well. I love DTR, but for him to take that next step, he has to play turnover-free football. We didn't see that his first NFL start, although he was thrown in the fire. I do agree with Magee. It was last-minute notice, this and that. I expect a cleaner DTR the rest of the year. I'm not sure if it'll ever pan out to the Browns eventually making it to the playoffs, but at the same token, they're going to be running the ball. He's going to be running the ball. They're going to be checking down the ball. And Carolina's going to continue to try and grow Bryce Young as much as they can. They're going to continue to use Thielen to their disposal. Give me Thielen all day, especially in a PPR league. Maybe non-PPR, it's a little more of a toss-up, but PPR, got to go with Thielen.
Yeah.
One side note, do you want to mention this while all the guys are, and I'll mention it later on, the other guys jump in. Conference championship Saturday, Armchair Quarterback Kickoff Show is going to come on about an hour before the SEC championship because the SEC championship's being carried by several radio stations. So if y'all can just text message me on to the side or whatever, let me know if you'll be able to join that show or not. Let me know.
Sounds good.
And Jones, if you want to do color, let me know. But I know you may be busy as hell with whatever's going on. It's always a bad time of year, but anyways,
I should be able to try and make it work.
I was doing the Baltimore-Cincinnati game on Thursday night, slowly watching all of my fantasy football players crumble into dust. You kidding me with this, man? I mean, every time you turn around, some guy was dropping like a fly. It is terrible.
Burrow and Andrews, I know someone who has both of them. I'm just like, sorry about that.
Man, that is just somebody check on Brian.
Yeah, that how funny the NFL is. Real quick, the Bengals 5-3 were on top of the world. They're America's darling and growing up. Then they have that Houston loss. Now they lose Joe Burrow and they are dead flat in the water. Right with that.
Until Joe Flacco comes.
Maybe Phillip Rivers.
RG3.
Dare I say the cat man?
I was thinking it, Joey.
One of these teams has to just hope for whatever. I mean, it's past the trade deadline, so they're screwed, right? I mean, the Patriots or Titans at this point aren't.
The only thing is if Ryan Tannehill or Jimmy Garoppolo can maybe get a release granted, which I don't know why those teams would do that, but I do know that those quarterbacks are not happy about their situation. Maybe they get granted a release, but I doubt it.
Yeah, I could, if teams can't get compensation back at this point, I just find it hard that they're going to just, they'll probably use Tannehill and Jimmy G for their tutelage and mentorships. And at the end of the year, say, clean out your locker. Thanks, fellas. Have a good one.
Probably.
All right, moving on to the next game. Let me see who we got here. What the hell are you doing to me? All right, here we go. So this is an interesting game as far as the point spread is concerned. We've got Iowa and Illinois. It's a 3-point spread in favor of Iowa. And a lot of the models are favoring to take Iowa. The over-under in this game is 31.5.
Ever since Iowa's quarterback went down, not that he was a trailblazer, but their over-under last week was 26 or something like that.
So blindly, this is what I'm thinking blindly. If it's going to be a low-scoring game, why wouldn't you just grab Illinois and a teaser on this and they hit the over, right? Or the under, either way. But if you get 9 points in Illinois, isn't it a pretty safe bet they're going to be within 9? Iowa beats everyone by 3 or 4 points.
Absolutely. And a little bit of a nugget on this game, Illinois is going back to their starting quarterback who is healthy, which to me is the mistake because their backup quarterback has actually done good the last several weeks. So just more to your point, Miggy, the Iowa games, I think ever last month, 30, 31, 32, 33. All Illinois has to do is run into a touchdown, and they should be able to cover at the day's end because 8-2 record of Iowa does not reflect. Look at their points scored. It is ugly football they play over there.
I mean, that is just, God bless America. 31.5. Honestly, I think I'd take the under. I know it's more fun to pull for the over, but I say you grab Illinois, you grab the under, and you don't even turn the damn game on. You're just kidding.
It's a travesty.
Yeah, you check the score around 7:00 Eastern. Go, wait, I won.
I've gotten burnt this year too many times, getting trapped into oh my gosh, the Iowa over's at 26. Oh my gosh, it's at 28. Like you think it's so obtainable. You think they backdoor cover into those. Well, guess what? Last week it was 22-0 Iowa. Week before that, 10-7 Iowa. Week before that, Iowa lost 12-10. Week before that,
baby.
It's just like they.
Now you're speaking my language.
I like that tease the under, right? I don't really see these teams get. What would you tease at 7 probably? So I don't really see them get into that 37.5 total. Quite frankly, Iowa shut out Rutgers last week, and Rutgers has a better offense than U of I has. So
sadly, we'll probably see them in the Big Ten championship though, which is just a disgrace in itself. But.
Yeah, that's why the California squad or the West Coast squads coming to the Big Ten should help, balance that conference. You can't have Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan State, although they're floundering, but those 4 should not be all in one conference at once. I'm sorry. It's just, uneven, unfair. In the other conference, you always end up with Purdue or Iowa with 7 to 8 wins in the Big Ten championship. Next thing you know, the spread's 21 and they lose by 35.
The Big Ten championship is always next week, and then they stick that at 12:00 Eastern. So Big Ten, they could afford some reshuffling to me with some of the models they've been doing. Absolutely. But you can't fix the conferences, unfortunately, at this moment. But good luck, Iowa, because your offense stinks.
I'll say their special teams is outstanding, Iowa's. If you ever have a chance,
that's when you know it's not good.
Their punter is insane. He does some magic with that football. That's why they're fine. That's why, when they're not really scoring offensively, they're never worried. But it's just a shame. Iowa could have been a little bit better if their transfer quarterback from Michigan didn't go down one of the first games of the year. Not saying their offense would have been that much better, but they were actually kind of scoring points early on. Now they just can't get anything going. I think they're on their third string quarterback even. I could be wrong, but any Iowa offense over the years that's on quarterback number 3, you know, this isn't the Ricky Stanzi days. I think they're going to get blown out regardless of their fate, whether it's a bowl game, Big Ten championship, all that stuff.
I'll tell you one of the teasers that I like. So on the Florida Bet app, the over-under has gone to 33.5 in that Iowa game. Clemson is now a 7.5 point favorite. So if you do a 7-point teaser, you just need Clemson to get the W, and you get the over-under all the way up to 40 or 40.5, excuse me.
I kind of like the other end of the. I kind of like the North Carolina getting 14.5 there as well, and then teasing the same total, like you said. I could see that one going either way. I think Clemson should win straight up, but at the same time, I don't see North Carolina losing by more than 2 touchdowns. But they've really fallen off the rails here the past couple of weeks. North Carolina, man, I thought they were at one point on a crash course with Florida State for the top of the ACC.
The only thing that screws you when you take these like really low unders is like something goofy happens. A pick six, a scoop and score,
a punt return,
a 4-yard punt because the dude knocks it off the side of his foot. Anything stupid will piss you off.
A botch snap on a 2-point conversion leading to a 2-point defensive conversion the other way.
Well, I took Clemson to win. I honestly, I'm telling you right now. So what the sharps will always tell you is if you have an unranked team at home favored against a ranked team, take the unranked team because it's basically a trap for folks to, because the mindset is always, well, they're ranked. They're 8-2. Clemson 6-4. North Carolina's got to be the better team. And then all of a sudden they kick off and you go, what the hell am I watching here?
Well, just like the other night, I know it's a little different, but that kind of happened with Boston College Pitt, right? You had Pitt, couple wins only. They were given a field goal to Boston College, who seemed like they had a resurgence the second half of the year, 6 wins, bowl eligible. Pitt pretty much had their whole way with them that whole game.
I took Boston College on a teaser, but that was a big teaser. I was getting a ton of points. So that was the tail end of my teaser on that one. But I would have been okay on my other teaser, my NFL teaser, had Joe Burrow not gotten hurt. Once you saw him go down, you're like, oh, man, Jake Browning's not going to keep this within, I forget what I had it at that point, 9.5, whatever the teaser was, because I want to say they were getting 3.5, and I took them on just a traditional teaser, and it was a dumpster fire.
Sometimes those things, I mean, I love teasing, but sometimes, sometimes you get teased.
Sometimes you do. And sometimes you don't get teased and you wish you had. Hi-oh!
Brady Bunch.
Let's go ahead and do the Brady Bunch segment here as we're going to do let me get the paper out. Welcome in, Doug. Welcome in, Steven. How are you?
Good.
Yeah, I'm doing great.
Has anybody checked on Brian?
Oh, he already said he's just waiting. It's tank season. Just get a good draft pick.
He's already looking forward to the NHL playoffs, right?
He had full intentions of going to that game here in Jacksonville with the Bengals, but he's like, nope. He's not even going anymore. He's giving up.
Come on, Brian. Let's go. Let's go, man.
If Burrow's not there
Watch
anyway.
Jake Browning.
Yeah, that was bad. Getting our locks, everything. I got everything updated on our well, shoot, this is going to be real interesting trying to share this because
just put it over my screen. I've been doing so bad anyways. Just, feel free to put it up on my screen.
All right, there we go. I guess we're basically not going to be able to see any of our faces, and you'll see our terrible records instead. Okay. The best part of the week, where all this knowledge is put out right in front of everybody, and go, "What the hell? Why am I listening to these idiots?" All right, let's go. All right, let's go ahead and do this in order. So let me see. Doug is the only one eliminated from the survivor pool. He took Buffalo.
Thanks, Buffalo.
Let's go ahead and get survivors knocked out of the way. Doug, we'll let you go first since you don't have a pick. So let's go with Doug, and then we go to I'll just go in order. Tones, what is your survivor pick?
Yeah, with my survivor pick this week, I'm going to go with the Lions of Detroit. Justin Fields has been out for a couple of games now with an injury. You know, he's probably not going to be 100% up to game speed going into this one. I think Dan Campbell is having a fantastic season as a head coach. I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. I find it kind of funny that they're linking into, you know, College Station's job opening just because he's an alumni there. I think he's going to shut all those rumors up and really get a nice win on Sunday against the Bears.
Joey, what is your survivor pick?
Steven will be happy about this. I'm going to go with Miami. I just think coming off the London trip, they're at home against a Raiders team that, yes, they've been on fire, but all good things come to an end with Antonio Pierce. You know, usually that coach gets over for a couple of games. I think on the road, Miami wins big. I'll take the Dolphins as mine.
Bobby, what you got?
I normally stay away from in the division games for survivor picks, but the Giants look hopeless. Tommy DeVito and co. I just don't see them winning another game this year. I'm going to go with the Commanders.
And Steven.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the homer pick and go with the Dolphins. I mean, there's no way they lose this week.
Raider Doug is insane.
I'm sorry, Doug. Aiden O'Connell is just not happening.
Infamous words.
If they're serious about winning, you might as well throw Jimmy G back in there. I know he didn't look great, but my gosh.
I'm not saying that Miami's going to lose. I think the points. I don't think they're going to lose by 2 touchdowns. That's all. The spread on that, I think, is 13.5.
Yep. Fair.
They're not. The Raiders are better than that. I'm not saying they're going to win, but they're not going to win by 2 touchdowns or more.
I'll take the Dolphins as well. I think Doug is drunk over there.
I didn't say the Dolphins weren't going to win. I just said they're not going to win by 2 touchdowns.
Who the Raiders have beaten, they beat up on the small sisters. They're about to get throttled. It's a terrible spot for the Raiders too, because Miami's coming off a bye.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, everything points to it. I'm just saying the Raiders are a little bit better than that. That's all. I don't think they're going to get throttled. That's all.
Last week you weren't confident they were going to beat the Jets, and now you think they're going to be competitive with the Dolphins?
The line's 13.5.
So you're saying there's more potential for the Dolphins to score like a 70-20 like they did against Denver?
No, I just don't think the Raiders can score more than 14 points.
Doug, are you coming over for the Christmas Eve get together?
Yeah.
All right, I'll tell you. We'll do this if you're interested. I'll take the Dolphins minus the 13.5, and we'll put a 12-pack of Miller Lite on it.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. So if the Raiders cover, I got your beer. If the Dolphins cover, you better not have me drinking like water because you say, "Oh, I forgot."
I'll bring you something good.
All right. So that'll knock off that nonsense because I'm telling you, man. What is the over in that game?
Well, that's a good point.
46.5.
Yeah.
46? Woo. Miami might get that by themselves. And I do think the Raiders will put some points up, but I mean, good Lord, how is it that low? That's That's strange. I feel like that's every bit of a. I mean, you're trying to tell me that you can't get to 46 points with the Dolphins at home? All right, let's go ahead and do the because I know Joey's got to run. Let's go ahead and do our stupid underdog picks. Let's see who is up first. Stupid underdog. Who's in lab? Bobby, who's your stupid underdog?
So Arizona State a few years ago, they dashed Oregon's playoff hopes with a big win at home. They play them again. They're 24.5-point underdogs. I really got to start swinging for the fences here. I'm going to take Arizona State plus 24.5. If they get a lead here at home, who knows? Maybe they can get some momentum and possibly pull out a win. And if not, hopefully they cover. Give me 3 points. Give me Arizona State.
Wow. All right, who's up next? We've got who is it? Tones. What's your stupid underdog?
Yeah, I'm kind of like Bobby here, where I need a bigger one to kind of stay afloat in these swing of things. I'm going to go with a little bit of a game in the NFL. I'm going to turn my sights to that because it's any given Sunday. Give me the Bucks. Get in 12 points on the road tomorrow against San Fran, coming off a big win against the Titans. San Fran has a Thursday night football date at Seattle upcoming, and their schedule gets really tough. This could be a little bit of a look-a-loo type game with Tampa flying across the country. Give me Tampa in the 12. You never know what happens on Sunday.
I mean, I know what's going to happen, but
hey, I said I got to swing for the fences. You know,
now y'all do know that Joey's leading, but he's only got 11 points. It's not like he's got 58, right? Y'all are there swinging out of your shoes. Everyone else is going to be dropping bunts just to try to get on base. All right. Who's next? See, there was Tones, and then there Bobby, and then Trosch.
Well, I'm not going to swing for too much for the fences this week. I'm going to go for North Carolina. They're they're plus 7.5 in Clemson. I just don't think that Clemson has their offense has just not looked good this season. They're just not the Clemson we're used to seeing. Drake May is a great quarterback. I think they're going to put up points regardless. I just don't know if Clemson can keep up with them.
All right, and then I believe that takes us. Is it me or is it? Where's Doug at? Next at 7. So Doug's okay. So I'm technically in front. Give me the Florida Gators plus 11. I don't think they're necessarily going to win that game, but I do think they got a puncher's chance. I think any way you look at it, I think 11 is way too high for that game. Doug, what you got?
I'm going to go ahead and take Louisville to beat Miami today. I think it's at like 2.5.
I think it's like a half.
Oh, did it go down? Oh.
Pick them now.
It's going back.
And that's a super underdog.
I got a 1.5, Doug, is what I got.
That's fine. I'll stick with it because I just
Doug's playing for the par. You know, he's not going for the birdie.
Doug's just doing it because he's hating on the city of Miami right now. He's like,
basically, all I was trying to say,
I'm going to show McGee that Miami sucks. Let's go.
Louisville's a 1-point favorite.
I just figured about maybe I'll jinx it all. But anyway, yeah, you can't have it both ways. You're not going to have a weekend sweep with Dolphins and the Hurricanes. So, yeah, take Louisville.
Louisville is now a 1-point favorite. What the hell's going on here?
Yep, that's what he.
Would Doug get -1 if they cover?
You know what, Doug? How about we just give you a pick 'em and call it even? Because this is
yeah.
I didn't know I had switch like that.
If Louisville wins, you win the damn bet. How about that? We'll just do that.
2 points.
And Joey.
Wait a minute. It's a stupid underdog that we're doing, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. That's why I got
stupid underdog. Wait, what are we doing? Never mind. I was thinking this was the lock.
Yeah, never mind. God damn.
What the hell were you picking that game for, anyways?
Newspaper clippings.
I really just picked
you were going to get 1 point.
What is he reading? The Tampa Times?
You would actually get 4 points if they just covered the spread.
Stupid underdog.
Hey, he's playing chess. We're playing checkers out here, I guess.
Hey,
why not the Raiders?
Then take the spread UNLV over Air Force.
What's the line on that?
On that, I think it's 2.5 as well.
Anyone got it in front of them?
2.5.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
Yep,
UNLV
2.5.
2.5.
Yep.
All right. And who's next? Is it Joey?
Yep, I'll go with the all Kansas game. Kansas is at home getting 10 points. Give me Kansas plus 10 today versus K-State.
Joey, what is your lock? Because I know you want to jam.
My lock is going to be the Green Bay Packers. I know that's hard for people to hear, but they're +3 at home. I think the Chargers are a joke. I think their coach is more of a joke. He should be fired on Monday 10 times over, and they had a sad sack of an organization led by him. So I think the Packers +3 at home. Give me them as the lock.
What is your one big thing as you walk us off?
My one big thing is Colts got a bye week, so I'm going to have a good one tonight, and I'm going to be laying in for football tomorrow. I'll probably watch the 11 o'clock noon games right in bed because I'll be having a good old time on a Saturday enjoying the college football.
All right, brother. We'll see you next time.
Have a good one. See you next week.
Yes, sir. All right, let's go ahead and let's get Tones' lock before we get sidetracked again. Tones, what you got?
I'm going to go with an over here in Sunday Night Football tomorrow, where the Vikings travel to Denver to take on the Broncos. Right now it's sitting right around, well, when I looked earlier, right around the 42-point mark. I think Broncos have been playing a lot better. Their offense looks more lively week in and week out. Javonte Williams has finally recovered from his ACL or Achilles injury, it looks like. And the Vikings are getting Justin Jefferson back, and Josh Dobbs with another week in that offense will probably look a little more crisp as well. Give me the Vikings Broncos over in that one. I'd like to think that these teams put up some points on a Sunday Night Football showdown, which suddenly a few weeks ago didn't look like that fun of a game, and now it's looking like it could be at least an interesting contest at the very least tomorrow night.
All right, speaking of the National Football League, let's dive into it a little bit. We talked about Raiders-Dolphins. Not a great slate for the NFL this week, but the Steelers-Browns game obviously is the one that is going to have everybody's attention, mainly because we want to see what Cleveland's going to look like without Deshaun Watson. DTR going to be the starting quarterback. The line right now is Cleveland -2. Steven, what you got on that game?
Man, who's it's DTR quarterback this week, right?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
I can see this being like a 9-6 game. It's like those offenses are just going to be that bad.
So you're saying don't stream DTR in fantasy? It's in Cleveland too. I don't know why, but Steven, this game always comes to my mind. Do you remember when the Raiders went to Cleveland a few years back? We were doing the show. And we were like, how the hell is the over was like really low. And we're like, how the hell is it so low? Bang the over, blah, blah. And then like no points were scored in that game. I don't remember the score, but it was something like 9-7. It was something ridiculous. And I lost like a pretty crisp $100 bill on that game because I went all in on the over. And I think I even teased it. And it didn't even sniff the over because the winds were howling off the lake. You flip over to watch the game, and like you might as well. I mean, they might as well have had like basically a plastic spoon using it as a snow shovel in the driveway because you were never going to get the damn job done.
Isn't it funny too when you take an over and it's failing in your head? You're just trying to say, all right, if they get a touchdown in a minute and a half here, you're always trying to map out the possibility of the over.
Yeah, the game's 20-0. The losing team is on defense, and you're like, if the winning team just scores a touchdown here and calls a timeout, and then force like stuff that will never happen in real life. Right?
They'll go for 2. They want to go up 29, not 28.
Right. Yeah, you're coming up with all kinds of scenarios. You're like, it's never going to happen. Conversely, if you're in the clear and you're like, this thing is won, it's done, it's over, and the next thing you know, a scoop and score off of a punter fumbling the damn thing on its own 5 ends up screwing you.
Yeah, man, that's why you love, but you hate betting at the same time.
I never get the backdoor covers in my favor. It's always the other way around.
Or the worst is when, like, in the first 10 minutes of the game, it's like 14-7, and you're like, oh, man, this thing's going to clear easily. I could turn this game off. You check in, it's mid-third quarter, it's like 17-7. It's like, what the heck happened? Did these teams just, like, fall asleep and go into the half or something?
Other games of interest. Steelers-Browns. Bobby, what's your score?
I'm gonna go low scoring, but I'm gonna go 13-10 Steelers.
Doug.
I think it's gonna be an ugly game.
Yeah,
Doug,
I
what you
agree.
got?
I got the Steelers winning this one 13-7.
Tones?
This is a game that Pittsburgh should win. They should win really rather easily, given the lack of offensive weapons that the Browns have now that Chubb's gone, now that Watson's gone. But, Kenny Pickett, you know what? I think Kenny Pickett has a big game. I think he has 180 passing yards and a touchdown. I'm going with the Steelers slightly in this one. I think Steelers win this one. Let's roll with 17-13 Pittsburgh.
I like the Browns in a shootout, 16-14. I think the Browns will find a way to win. I really feel like we're going to flip this game on, and the wind's going to be busting everyone in the face. It's going to be one of those games. They're only calling for about the game to be in the mid-50s tomorrow. And that's how you get sucked in. But you forget how close that damn stadium is to the lake. And if that wind's howling, man, Kenny Pickett. Didn't everyone think that the squeaky wheel was going to get the grease last week?
Yeah.
With Pickens?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That did not happen.
Pouting did not pay off.
What's that?
The pouting didn't pay off.
No, it didn't.
No,
Which
some of these
it
receivers nowadays, they try and talk their way out of a situation, thinking it'll get them more involved, thinking it'll pay dividends. But when you're the quarterback throwing that guy the football, what makes you motivated to throw to them more? They're pouting, they're upset. What makes you want to be their buddy at the end of the day? I mean, clearly,
it's really just to shut them the hell up is normally what it is.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I get that. I do get that as well. But I mean, Kenny Pickett, that's all I'll say is, he's going to have a tough time finding anyone the football. So Pickens should be realizing that, and it's not just him. It's a lot more in that Pittsburgh offense that is.
What I'll say about the Pittsburgh Steelers receiving core is they've got to start doing much better job. And when they go to draft these guys, doing some psychological evaluations. Because they have got the monopoly on nutcases, man. Like everyone that comes through there ends up being, poor woe is me, the world's against me.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
he got pissed off the week before because his teammate caught a touchdown pass.
Yeah. Everybody else is celebrating. He was walking away angry.
In a game that they won.
Yeah.
That is just terrible. And I mean, we've seen it now for decades. It started with Plaxico Burress, went to Antonio Brown, went to Juju Smith-Schuster, who was, too busy.
Plaxico Burress got so damn mad he shot his leg off.
Antoine Randall L got so mad he changed the quarterback trick play specialist.
I grew up on Lynn Swan, and now this nonsense is going on. What the hell is going on? Other games, what is the one game in the National Football League this coming week? Don't say Buccaneers, 49ers, Tones, that has your eyes on the betting world, not necessarily on anything else, but the betting world. What's the line that you're like, what?
Yeah, there's a couple of them, right? And, I think one that's really intriguing to me, at least in terms of betting, is we already talked about Pittsburgh. I do love that one. But I will say this. Arizona with Kyler Murray back getting 5.5 points in the Texans.
What is that?
The Texans are on top of the world right now. They just had that huge comeback win against the Bucs, and they just had that comeback win against the Bengals. A lot of people are smelling the Texans. To me, Arizona played a heck of a football game last week. They were able to get the upset win against the Falcons. And now I think Kyler is even going to be a little more crisp this game. I don't know if they necessarily cover that spread, but I don't see this being more than a touchdown type game. Arizona's really been playing close all season. It's not like they've really been blowing out regardless of their quarterback, except the 1 week they did start Clayton too, and that game got a little cartoonish, no pun intended. I do think Arizona is able to put the fork in the ground a little bit here this week, though, and say, hey, we're a little more competitive than people think, and I think Houston comes back down to reality a little bit more than people think. I like Arizona with that 5.5.
Bobby, what say you?
For me, I like Seahawks Rams. I'm looking at this matchup. The Rams, I know they're at home. They're a 1 point favorite. I like the Seahawks to win this game, though. I think the Seahawks will get it done. The Rams have been pretty banged up lately. They're 3-6. The season's on the way. It's done. It's done. The season's done.
Now, isn't Stafford and Kupp coming back this week?
I think they are, but I still think I don't think they're 100%. And the Seahawks have been a better team this year. I got them winning on the road here.
Steven, what say you? NFL slate.
Dallas at only 10.5 point favorite. I felt like that should be more in the 13.5, 14 point range, like we're seeing with the Dolphins. The Panthers team is just, they are not good in any way, shape, or form. Their offense doesn't have any firepower with Bryce Young back there. I just don't. I can't even see them scoring 10 points. And I like with what we've seen out of the Dallas offense the past few weeks, this should be a blowout.
I think Frank Reich.
Bad for Bryce Young.
Yeah, Frank Reich. I was going to say the same, McGee. He's just.
I think Frank Reich is getting his lawyers to rifle through his contract, see if there's some kind of Jimbo Fisher clause where he can just get fired. And they said that the Jimbo's out hunting this weekend. Like Frank Reich needs to be out hunting for a job. The thing is, there's no end in sight because they traded away their damn draft picks to go get Bryce Young. What the hell was that?
Yeah, and
they're probably going to be the number 1 pick.
Yeah, and that's always a smart thing to do, right? Let's trade away our best wide receiver for we're getting a rookie quarterback. Let's trade away our only valuable weapon that rookie quarterback could use. And by the way, let's give up 3 or 4 draft picks on top of that.
Let's get a rookie quarterback. We know we're going to suck, and let's give away that first round draft pick the following year.
Of course, trading away a first round pick in the next year works against the Cardinals because the Texans turned into one of the best teams in football. So
Texas is going to go out and win the Super Bowl, and you're going to be like, thanks.
Yeah, we're stuck with picking in the high 20s when we thought we'd have a top 5 pick out of them.
We essentially inherited a second round pick. Awesome.
Pretty much.
Doug,
didn't go as well as I thought it did.
Doug, what's the game's got your eye? Line doesn't look right.
I'm looking. Tonson mentioned it earlier. I'm still looking at this Vikings Broncos game because I'm really intrigued now. It seems like the Broncos, as far as the team, have turned a corner. Seems like they're kind of falling in line with what Sean Payton's got going, and also definitely their defense. That's why I'm just going to be curious if they carry it over, which I think they will, and I think they will beat the Vikings. Their giveaway margin is the best in the NFL. That defense is actually in the last 3 weeks has played really well. They're hard to score on. They've been hard to score on, and that running game is a lot. Just overall, that team is playing a lot better. And a team that comes off beating Kansas City and Buffalo in successive weeks has got my eye.
The one that I like, if you want a good NFL teaser, Detroit, 7.5 point favorite. The over under is 47.5. I like Detroit and taking the over. Justin Fields is supposed to be back. One thing Justin Fields does do, no matter what happens, points do get scored. Either his team is crossing the goal line or he's throwing the ball the other way and the ball's good. Regardless, you're not going to get into any kind of a slobber knocker. You're going to get into some kind of a shootout. And I think that's extremely gettable right there. Detroit to win and the Bears. But if nothing else, I just like the over in that game. 47.5 to me seems a little low. It's in Detroit, so you're not dealing with the elements. And these two teams Obviously going in opposite directions, but it's a divisional game that even still, when these two teams meet up, it seems like it's high scoring. Tones, what is your one big thing as you walk us off today?
Yeah, as we get into the latter part of the college football season, that's why you got to enjoy football, because before you know it, it's over in the snap of a dang finger. And we're nearing the end here, sadly. But as clutchness and playoff time comes around, upsets tend to happen. They say Tampa Tones 2 T's for me. I got 2 big-time T's going down today in the world of college football. I got Texas getting upset on the road against Iowa State, and I got Tulane getting upset on the road as well against Florida Atlantic. So give me double T's, both ranked in the top 24 in the country, getting into trouble today. I think a lot of big upsets happen around the world of college football today, specifically Texas heading into Iowa State and Tulane heading into Florida Atlantic.
All right, brother, we'll see you next time. We're going to take a quick break, reset. When we come back, college football, we're going to hit all the lines, get you ready for kickoff. We only got a few of these left. We'll be back in a flash.
Triple-decker burn! Tom has been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. I was really starting to worry.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neal, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Fridays, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
Hockey season, and that means new merch over at ourdragonsmerch.com. Get the latest designs and some of our fun new souvenirs ahead of what's sure to be a great hockey season. Celebrate another season of River Dragons hockey by getting a new look to wear on game days, or surprise the big-time sports fan in your life with a new keepsake that will make them a River Dragons fan for life. Order online right now at ourdragonsmerch.com. That's the letter R, dragonsmerch.com. We'll see you at the rink.
Hey, sports fans, weekdays.
Well, the season's finally here.
The Armchair Quarterbacks are back. Saturdays, 10 a.m., you'll be tailgating with the Armchair Quarterbacks. Mac Magee, Joey and Tones, and the rest of the Armchair Quarterbacks live, 10 a.m., Saturdays this fall. Talking college football, SEC, ACC, Big Ten, the NFL, fantasy football advice, and our picks against the spread. Right here on Braves Country HD, 99.1 FM, WQEE.
Yeah, the Armchair Quarterback.
The decision to have the kids earn their jersey numbers,
Yeah.
is there a story behind that, and what
No.
are you hoping that is?
I'm old school. Anybody here over 45? Didn't we have to earn every darn thing we got? Ain't nobody gave us nothing. So this whole new thing. First of all, we got this new thing now in college football about double numbers. We didn't have. If somebody gave you a double number in college, that assured that you weren't gonna play. That's how it was, wasn't it? Now it's like normal. You got to earn stuff. Ain't nobody giving you nothing. We got kids, they ain't played a snap, and you want to be one? You know what number one meant back in the day for us? That you were that one. Now you got number one getting the frame tore out of him out there on the field. Like, come on, you got to be crazy.
Armchair.
Welcome back to Braves Country. Mac Magee and the Armchair
Well,
Quarterback.
the season's finally here, and the players hit the field, and every man feels like a boy, and every wife could kill. 'Cause he's the Armchair Quarterback.
Welcome back.
He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. He's the All-American man.
A lot of college football on the slate today. And we haven't really gotten your take on this yet, Bobby. What are your thoughts on what's going on in Gainesville as they head into Missouri to take on the Tigers and a double-point dog?
Yeah, I know you're talking about how much you like Florida on the points here. I don't. We were pretty bad against Missouri, and we're terrible on the road this year. Missouri seems to have our number. They've been smoking us the last few years, and then obviously combine that with the fact that we are really bad on the road this year. I think we're in for a blowout, and I think Florida's going to be one loss away from not being bowl eligible.
So what's your score on that then?
I'm going to go 34-17 Missouri.
I just think Florida's going to be able to score on them. Now, I don't know how much they're going to be able to keep them from scoring. That's my biggest question.
Yeah, we're kind of stiff on defense. I think they're going to put up plenty of points. And, Missouri was able to shut down Tennessee, which I know isn't a hard thing to do considering Milton's their quarterback. But still, I don't think Florida's going to have anywhere near enough firepower on offense to keep up with them.
I've never seen an offense do an about face the way Tennessee's offense has done. I get it that they have a different quarterback this year. But, my God, that team was scoring up and down on roller skates last year.
Yeah.
And this year, it looks like, they might as well be running the wing T, right? I'm not going to put what Missouri did to Tennessee last year as much as to Florida has looked good from time to time with their offense. If they can score with Missouri, they'll make it interesting. Look, I was taking that obviously wasn't my lock. That was my stupid underdog pick. There's a reason why, we call them stupid underdogs. But if Florida can win the turnover battle, and when they score, I do believe that they need to eat big chunks off the clock, right?
Yeah.
So in other words, like 8 to 10 play drives. If they're getting into an actual race with Brady Cook, that could be a problem. But if they're churning up, basically they're going to have to win the turnover battle, and they're going to have to keep Missouri's offense on the field by just eating the clock up. I've got Florida hanging in there. They probably don't win it, but I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it's going to be, we're looking at 34-30
for Missouri.
A neighborhood. If Florida loses this game, do you think they just mail it in next week?
No, I think it's too big of a rivalry game to do that. And we have bowl eligibility on the line. I think there's plenty to play for still, but I don't give us much chance against Florida State, especially if we lose here. It'll be a little bit of a morale killer.
I see a lot of Florida State fans keep complaining about that there's a chance that if Washington wins this week, that Florida State could fall out of the top 4. I'm like, dude, that might be the best thing that could happen to them. Get them fired up and have an incentive going into Florida State Florida week. Because my biggest concern is I know they got the better team. My biggest concern is they go in there and they're not ready to roll. I don't think they've announced a time for that kickoff yet either. And if it's an early kickoff, you can kind of be lulled to sleep in the swamp when it's a noon kickoff. If it's a night game, I kind of figured that they're going to be fired up and ready to roll, but there's a good chance that it ends up being a
7 p.m. kickoff.
Yeah.
What's that?
I think if Washington wins, they should hop above Florida State in the rankings.
Yeah, it's a 7:00 game next week.
Have they already announced it?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I must have missed that.
Florida State.
Well, 7:00. Yep, 7:00. Oh, it's ESPN 7:00 game. All right. Well, that probably gives Florida State a little better advantage. I know the crowd can be a little wilder at 7:00, but I'm looking at it as Florida State laser focused and ready to roll at 7:00. A noon kickoff, I'm worried about them going in there, still got turkey on the belly, not really, we're right now they got the line at 11.5 Florida State. We're a double-digit favorite and just kind of sleepwalk in there. It's a 7:00 kickoff. They ought to be laser focused.
Yeah.
I still think they're screwing up not playing that game on Friday. That was a lot of fun last year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it helped that the game itself was a great game, but
yeah.
I'm hoping that they go back to that Friday kickoff when it returns to Tallahassee next year.
Mm-hmm.
Steven, we haven't really talked too much about this Louisville-Miami game, and the line keeps going back and forth. Where do you see the Hurricanes this year or this week?
It's all going to come down to which version of Tyler Van Dyke we get. The first few weeks of the season, he was producing and grading out as one of the top quarterbacks in the nation, and I don't know what happened, but he just fell off not even a cliff, like the edge of the earth. I mean, he's getting thrust back into action after Emory Williams got knocked out last week. I think Miami's defense.
What's the diagnosis on Williams, by the way?
I think it was like a broken arm, something like
Broken
that.
arm, okay.
But I like the Miami's defense is good enough to keep him in it. The one thing here that scares me is Louisville's strength on defense is their run defense, and that's really what's been getting Miami through right now is the run game. I don't see Miami winning this game. I think it's going to be Louisville pulling it out.
Doug, Notre Dame, they're going to put it on Wake Forest today?
Yeah, they're going to abuse them like a redheaded stepchild all day long.
Notre Dame's they're 7-3, number 19 in the country. I haven't seen a bowl projection on them. By the way, I haven't really talked about this, but let's go around the horn a little bit. The head coaching job at Texas A&M. What are y'all hearing? Who do you think would be a good fit for the Texas A&M job? What's a realistic? I mean, don't tell me Bill Belichick or something. What's a realistic landing spot? Because I got a couple of guys in mind. Start with Bobby. What say you?
I've heard a little smoke about Jeff Traylor from UTSA. I saw him doing a post-game press conference and him kind of diverting away from questions about being interviewed for that job. So I think that's a possibility. And, he's in Texas. He's got that familiarity. So I think he's up there on the list, I think.
What about Jim Harbaugh? Can we get Jim Harbaugh down there in A&M?
I don't think they're going to go for a huge name again. I think they'll stray away from that, especially with the salary they'll have to give whoever they hire if it's a big name.
I was hearing that they don't expect them to make a big splash on the hire because they're having to pay off
so much of Jimbo's contract. Yeah, that's why I think Jeff Traylor's a legit or a realistic option.
And I think the fear is you bring someone in and they don't perform, and then you got to pay that SOB. Yeah. If they hire someone who's on a prove it type of deal and it doesn't work out in a few years, then you can move on a lot easier, especially if a big name enters the fold. Steven, who are you liking for the job?
I've seen, I'm like the most popular one I've seen is Traylor. I've seen the coach out in Duke. He's got Texas A&M roots.
Elko makes a lot of sense. I'll be honest with you. I mean, Mike Elko.
Yeah.
And the thing is, he's coached for A&M. He was Jimbo's assistant. But does that mean that he knows too much and he doesn't want the damn job?
Mm.
Because he has seen firsthand what it's like to be there. Now, if they're going to make the pay insane, then fair enough. But I don't think he's not going to bring in Jimbo Fisher type of money. Doug, what say you? You got anyone in mind?
Hey, it was funny you mentioned because I had Elko. I had pretty much had Elko going away because I think they can pay him a certain amount. I thought he might be interested in that job with Naylor being a second up, but I already assumed that it might be Elko.
I mean, I think now I hope it doesn't happen, but I think Bobby would like Billy Napier. And I think Steven would love to see his boy go over there, but I don't think that's happening.
Maybe Josh McDaniels.
Honestly, what I think they need to do is go the route that Florida State went and go get a damn coach that can coach and quit worrying about making the big splashy hire, right? Yeah. And give the guy, but you're gonna have to give this guy 2-3 years to develop. Mm-hmm. Whether that's Elko, whether that's it does sound more and more like UTSA might be out of their head coaching because of the way he is diverted. I've seen 2 or 3 interviews where it almost like as soon as he gets brought up, he goes, "Next question."
Yeah. He was talking about, it's senior night. How tragic to not talk about the seniors. Why are you asking me about this? Really big deflection there.
Right, exactly.
So
it's kind of like when they ask the president about the economy and all he wants to talk about is, climate change. And you're like, wait a minute, what? he's steering the other direction because he doesn't want you to focus on what's at hand.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you who'd be smart to go grab that money would be his name's escaping me. The USC head coach.
Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, Lincoln Riley. Get the hell out of there before they fire you, and just keep jumping.
He could be on the hot seat pretty soon.
Exactly. Just keep jumping. He's losing Caleb Williams. Just keep hopping around.
Yep.
Anyone believe Chip Kelly would be a target?
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
No, I don't think he'd be in the picture.
I think we're close to the end of the Chip Kelly era.
Yeah. He can go commentate games with Dan Mullen.
If this happened a couple of years ago, PJ Fleck would be up there, but
Mm-hmm.
his team has not been impressive at all.
No. I thought he'd have been a great head coach.
What about Gus Malzahn? What about you go get Gus Malzahn? I don't think you'd have to pay him a whole lot. I mean,
And he's down there at UCF right now. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's done a pretty good job.
Yeah. They've held their own. I don't hate that. I don't think they'd be more inclined to go with him over Elko or Traylor, but I think he could have eyes on him from A&M.
So some of the universities I think could get their guy poached. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas State, Missouri. Missouri would be a very interesting one.
Yeah. They'd have to probably pay him quite a bit more than the other guys.
Oregon State. What if Oregon State pulls off the upset tonight?
Yeah. Which wouldn't even be an upset. I think they're a 1-point favorite.
Yeah, I think it's down to 0.5. It's been a pick 'em all week.
Yeah.
So. But the perception it's an upset because you got the undefeated team.
True.
Yeah.
If this was last year, Beamer at South Carolina would have been riding that wave towards it, but he's had a rough season.
Yeah. I'm not sure anybody wants him now.
All right, we'll move on and get to some of the lines. What are some of your favorite lines this week, Steven? Because I know you probably got like 9 parlays kicking this morning, right?
What, in college or the NFL?
College.
Man, one that keeps sticking out to me is Rutgers at 19.5 against Penn State. I mean, I think last that Michigan game last week was kind of the unraveling of the James Franklin era. Just he can't beat the big teams, and if you can't beat the big teams, what are you doing? And it's I don't know, like the players coming in kind of deflated off that. Rutgers, I don't know, like I can see them covering and maybe even pulling off the upset. Now that would really shake things up in out there in Penn State.
That over under Louisville Miami seems extremely low to me. 46.5.
Miami can't score.
Yeah, but Tyler Van Dyke's good for at least a pick 6, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think TVD was that bad. And Louisville's defense is not dominant.
He just literally forgot how to read a defense the past few weeks. Like it was that bad.
I think they actually might have been better off last week having him start because from what I saw of Williams, yeah, he had the one long touchdown, but that was a blown coverage by the safety who I don't know what the hell he was doing. Everyone else is out there playing football. He was playing hopscotch, and he just absolutely – I mean, it was a miracle play outside of that one touchdown. Like, that Miami offense didn't do anything after the opening drive. I think
still composed than TBD.
I'm just saying, Louisville better be ready. Louisville better be laser focused. That is going to be that's not going to be a friendly environment down there. You know what could even be worse to him? Remember last year when no one showed up for the MTSU game? Well, what if the Miami fan base says, "I'm not going there damn noon kickoff ruining my Saturday. They're 6-4, 2-4 in the 8." What if there's no one in the damn stadium? That's even more dangerous for an upset, right?
I was kind of thinking about that with that Louisville Miami game. I was like, well, Miami does have the home field advantage, but they really don't. They don't have much home field advantage. Location wise, sure, but they don't have fans coming out to the games.
Yeah, it's not. And once again, and I don't know how many Louisville fans are going to fly down for the game, right? I'm sure they're excited because if they win, they would punch their ticket to the ACC championship game. But that would have to be your diehard alums that are going to the game.
Yeah.
And I mean, have you ever even heard of Louisville Nation or anything? I mean, is that big of a fan base out there for the football team? I'd say 90% of their alumni have been looking at the basketball schedule. Don't give a crap about what's going on the football field. But I don't know. The 46.5 to me seems low. It seems low.
That's fair.
Penn State, Rutgers, by the way. So the number 19.5 is right. Penn State's favored by 19.5. The over in that game is only 40.
And Rutgers isn't bad. They're not a bad team.
I don't think Rutgers can win the game.
No.
Because it's in Happy Valley, but I do understand possibly being able to cover that spread.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think they'll have to score a whole lot. I think Penn State will hold up their end of the deal. I don't think Rutgers will have to score a lot themselves to get to that 40.5.
I know who you don't want to be this morning. You don't want to be Louisiana Monroe. They're going to Ole Miss after Ole Miss just got throttled. They are a 37-point dog.
Yeah.
Here's a game that nobody's talking about, mainly because Oklahoma is out of the national championship picture, but they do have their eyes on the Big 12 prize. They are a 25-point favorite at BYU. I almost took that as a stupid underdog, but I didn't want to get too crazy. BYU plays much better at home than they do on the road. BYU is not a good football team, but I'm not convinced Oklahoma is a good football team.
That's fair.
25 points seems like a whole hell of a lot of points to be given up for Oklahoma.
I'll tell you a point total line I like, and I'm taking the under on this one. I like Tennessee, Georgia under 58.5. I think Georgia could put up points here, but I don't see Tennessee scoring enough to get anywhere near that
58.5.
58.5 is what I'm seeing as the over under.
Yeah.
I love the under in that matchup. Tennessee, I don't see them moving the ball much at all, especially with Joe Milton, the quarterback. I just don't see it happening against that Georgia defense. And Georgia hasn't been scoring enough on offense where they can get close to that number by themselves.
No, I mean, they put it all over Ole Miss, but Ole Miss's defense is lousy.
Terrible, yeah. And Tennessee actually has a little bit of talent on defense. A really good edge rusher.
And Tennessee's going to try to take the air out of the ball, right?
Yeah.
They're going to 1 yard in a cloud of dust and then a punt. I'm still loving that Iowa-Illinois under. I know it's 32.5, but
I don't know that.
They just do not throw the ball forward in Iowa football games.
Do a teaser with a couple of the unders: Georgia, Tennessee, and Illinois, Iowa.
USC's back up to 5, by the way. It was all the way down to 4 at one point. Some money had to have come in on UCLA for that line to go up and down like that.
Yeah. I'm seeing on the side of my screen Michigan receiver Roman Wilson warming up in a free Harbaugh shirt. Ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Free Harbaugh. Seriously?
Such a clown show. I really hope Michigan loses another game.
Isn't that game in Maryland?
I believe so.
It is.
Yeah.
So couldn't John Harbaugh just go over there and coach that damn team? Baltimore's off.
Yeah, the other Harbaugh.
Why can't John Harbaugh just go stand on the sidelines?
He's trying to figure out what he's going to do after all those injuries. Too busy. I hate Michigan.
Let's go ahead and get the locks. Doug, what is your lock of the day?
Just like I had said earlier, does that pick him against Louisville beating Miami?
Steven, what do you got as your lock?
I'm going to go the Lions minus 7.5. They're 7-2 against the spread this season. The Bears are getting Justin Fields back, but even when they had him, they just didn't. That offense wasn't clicking, and I think it's going to take a game or two to really get that vibe back. But yeah, Detroit is just they're so infinitely better team. They're much better at home than they are on the road. I think it's at least a 2-score game.
Bobby, what you got as your lock?
My lock, I'm going to go to the world of the NFL as well. I'm going to go Steelers +2. Even if they lose this game, I think this is going to be a really, really ugly game. They could lose like 10-9 and still cover. The weather's bad. Dorian Thompson-Robinson was terrible in his regular season debut. I want to give him a little bit of a break there because it was pretty short notice, not under the best circumstances. But these aren't good circumstances either. The weather's going to be terrible. It's just going to be it's going to be an ugly game. So I see the Steelers covering.
My lock, I gave it to everyone a little earlier. Northwestern +3. They're at home. The head coach just got the big promotion. He's no longer interim. He's now the head coach. And Purdue's honestly, I mean, what the hell? Why is Purdue and now it is flipped? Whatever. I'm taking Northwestern. Northwestern's going to put it on Purdue. And that's a well-deserved job right there. That Northwestern coach, man, he took over. You couldn't find a bigger disaster than what he inherited at Northwestern, and somehow he's got them in five. He's won. See, here's the thing: if they win today, they're bowl eligible. And I would have lost a ton of money if I would have even thought about it. I would have lost a ton of money in Vegas had I heard that Northwestern. If I beginning in there, if you would ask me, is Northwestern going to make a bowl? Like, there's no way they're going to make a damn bowl. They're gonna with like 3-4 wins tops.
Yeah, and
they're 1 win away. Who do they play next week? Because next week is rivalry week. Is that Illinois? They are. Yep, they play Illinois next week. They're getting one of those W's. They're heading to the bowls. All right, as we go to walk this thing off, Bobby, what is your one big thing?
My one big thing, I think Washington picks up a win over Oregon State today on the road. And I think that means the top 5, all of them stays undefeated. I don't think we won't see much change in the rankings. Maybe Washington will jump Florida State. It's possible, but overall, I don't think we'll see a whole lot of change. And there won't be any undefeated teams in the top 5 following.
Doug, what's your one big thing?
Jim Harbaugh all last week was talking about he'd love to be the head coach of the Raiders. Tell me you're guilty of something without telling me you're guilty of something.
Steven, what is your one big thing?
And I'm doubling down on it. There's going to be chaos in Happy Valley. I think Rutgers is going to pull off the upset, and we're going to there's going to be some change in there. James Franklin is not going to be long for the job.
Right.
Are you going to put some bones on that today? Money line?
I already got $10 on it.
On the money line?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Fair enough.
My one big thing. So here's the strangest thing about this year. We have not had upset Saturday.
That's true.
You can't really call next weekend an upset Saturday because those are all rivalry games. I'm talking about one of those games, like normally it's like a week 6. You get like 3 or 4 like teams just fall out of it.
Yep.
That's my one big thing today. We're going to have upset Saturday. I think at least 2 teams are going to go down just out of nowhere. I like I think it was Bobby that said Washington falls.
No, I said Washington wins.
Oh, you're saying Washington wins. I think Washington falls.
Okay.
But for it to be an upset Saturday, you got to at least have one more, right? You got to have at least one more. Does Michigan spit the bit? By the way, Ohio State, the week before they play Michigan, I was looking it up the other day. They are something incredible, like 3-14 against the spread. I doubt they lose to Minnesota this week, but upset Saturday. We haven't had one of those. Texas. Does Texas lose and get out of Alabama's way? Does Washington lose? Does Louisville lose to Miami? It's going to be moving and shaking. We can't have this. Can't go in 6 wide into the selection day.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be fitting, though? We're finally going to get the expanded playoffs next year, and this is the year where, somebody gets screwed out of the deal. Oh, can you imagine? Alabama beats Georgia. Ohio State goes undefeated. Florida State goes undefeated. Washington goes undefeated. Texas wins out. And
Can't put Georgia in, I don't think.
And the SEC gets left out of the college football playoffs.
I think Alabama would probably be that 4th seed, no?
Over Texas?
Yeah, if they were to go and beat Georgia, yeah. And
they lost to Texas.
Yeah, but I was going to say, they lost to Texas.
That's true. Yeah.
But Texas that's not the same Texas team. They lost Jonathan Brooks last week.
That's true.
And Texas has been on a little bit of a.
They still beat them.
Yeah.
Twitter, X, whatever the hell you want to call it, it would melt.
It already has before because of SEC bias. We've already seen it happen before.
History of sport if the SEC got left out of the championship playoffs. Oh, they'd be talking about boycotts and everyone would forget about it by the spring game. But they'd be raising $300 worth of hell. That would be get your popcorn ready.
I wouldn't mind seeing it just for the entertainment. And I'm not an SEC fan. I'm a Florida fan. I don't like when people are fans of their conference. If my team's out of it, I'll root for my rival because they're in the SEC. No, I'm not going for that. No.
Can you imagine if we end up with like the Pac-12, Washington, in the national title game against Florida State from the ACC? Dude, the Bubba's in the pickup trucks are coming, baby. They ain't gonna go for that. They ain't gonna go for that. They'll be rioting outside the stadium. You'll think it's 2020 again. All right, y'all. Have a great weekend. We'll see y'all next Saturday on Rivalry Weekend. Hopefully we get some shockers here this week. You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, home of Braves Country with Mac Magee and the Armchair Quarterbacks, weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern, right here on The Key and YouTube.com